Hi, Eli here. Wanted to pop in real quick and thank everybody for your continued support and attention to the Dandies and their adventures. It's because of you guys that we work so hard to try and make this show the best it can be. We at Dandies are an independent, non-advertising, non-commercial podcast, so there's no commercials in between. It doesn't split up the story. We go straight from beginning to end and on to the next story. But we also work outside of any major podcast network, which means we rely on word of mouth and positive reviews in order to not only survive, but eventually grow and be able to provide more fun content to our listeners. We have so many plans, from live streams to art and merch to more Dandies content. It's all really exciting, but we're gonna need some help. Leaving a positive review or even just sending us a like on YouTube will seriously help us out. This tells the algorithm that this is something to push to new people and we can continue to grow not only an audience but maybe even a community. Thank you to those who have left comments on our YouTube channel. They seriously make our day every single time. We'd also like to encourage leaving reviews. If you leave a review, let us know in the comments and we'll give you a personalized shout out from your dandy of choice. All you have to do is review, say in the comments which dandy you want, and at the end of the episode, your dandy of choice will personally thank you. So thank you for allowing us this time, this platform, the creative space in order to do what we love, and we cannot wait to keep growing and we cannot wait to keep showing you what we have in store. It's a lot. We have a lot of meetings about this. So thank you again, and I guess we can get on with the show.
Previously on Dandies in Danger. When Zach's not looking, Adrian's gonna walk past the dog again. He's just gonna poke it.
Your finger's a little oily whenever you pull it away.
Interesting.
I have these place cards for a Zachary Wilcox and a Lord Fartington, but there were 4 of you that came in, and I was just hoping that you could give me the other 2 names so that I could set your places at the table.
Daniel says, I'm Giuseppe Verdi.
You casually look over your shoulder, and you catch that the priest is looking you up and down, and then his eyes catch yours, and then he looks away.
No!
To find some receipts for a pretty significant quantity of food, and there's also a date. It dates back to about a week ago.
There is another receipt nearby for a very similar order that was 1 day ago.
This is supposed to be opening night.
Hi, my name's Elijah, my pronouns are he, him, and I play the voice of Zachary Wilcox.
Hello, I'm Cass. My pronouns are she, her, and I voice Liam Bardsley.
Hi, I'm Chess, he, she, they, and I voice Daniel Pritchard.
Hi, I'm Toast, pronoun she, they, and I play Adrian Edwards.
As the 7:30 chime fades off into the rest of the house, both Zachary and Adrian, and Liam and Daniel, happen to be entering the dining room at the same time through different doors. Your first impression of the dining hall is the grandiose abundance of space. It's more than big enough for a long mahogany table hemmed in by 16 ornately carved chairs, but the presence of more than a dozen mounted boar heads leering down at you from the dark wood walls create the distinct sensation that the room is already crowded. Each one, bristling and yellow-tusked, leans down toward the table hungrily. 3 candelabra stand on one side of the room, illuminating the glass eyes of the boars with a lively flicker. Once you peel your gaze away from the hunting trophies, you observe the rest of the lavish room. On either side of the door Zach and Adrian just entered stand 2 pedestals. On one, a bronze Artemis points her heavenly arrow directly at you. Or so it seems, until you notice the white marble boar she's aiming at on the opposite pillar. As you walk further in, the smoky warmth of the palatial fireplace settles into your clothes and your lungs. Over the fireplace hangs a painted hunting scene, well suited to the theme of the room. 6 white hounds drag a bloodied boar to its knees. The hunter sits approvingly atop his horse some distance away. There's an undeniable richness to the room. Wine red wainscoting covers the base of the walls, matching the rose bouquet centerpiece, and a red gold rug underneath the table. Across from the fireplace is a mahogany buffet with gorgeous floral carving on its cabinets, as well as 2 red and white decorative vases and a complete alcohol selection. At the head of the table hangs a floor-to-ceiling mirror in pompous gold frame. 2 taxidermy white hounds sit at grim attention on either side of the mirror. The thunderstorm puts on a dramatic show outside the 4 arched windows stretching down the west length of the room. The narrow height of the windows frames each slender, veiny lightning bolt as it briefly illuminates the cringing hills and wind-whipped trees. Just to get us set up in terms of location, Zach and Adrian are entering from a doorway on the north side of the room, while Liam and Daniel are entering from a door on the east side of the room where they just passed through the Hall of Portraits. You can see the windows there on the west wall, the fireplace is on the east wall, and the large mirror behind the table is on the south wall. So you're facing the mirror as you walk in at the head of the table there.
There were 15 house guests, so
Yes.
we're dining with one other person.
Perhaps the Lord.
The Lord himself.
And as the 4 of us are coming in, everyone else has also heard that 7:30 chime. So the people that had been in the parlor with Adrian and Zachary, they are now also entering into the dining hall behind you. So I assume that as you come in, you're going to be making space for the people who are following behind you. The priest was standing up, so he's probably the first in behind you guys. And
I don't like that.
he doesn't really make any sort of gesture towards you, Zach or Adrian, as you enter. But you can see, as you're coming in, that there have been places laid out on the table with specific names. So we've got Zachary Wilkos has got a spot laid out. Liam Bardsley has a spot laid out. Giuseppe Verdi has a spot laid out. Lord Fartington has a spot laid out on the table. And I will tell you your seating arrangement. Unless you'd like to walk around the room a little bit first.
I just want to say that Zachary definitely, before he sees Liam and Daniel, he nudges Adrian and definitely indicates up to the boarheads and just goes, "Is it me, or does that chase your appetite away entirely?"
It does a bit. I mean, I would like to get a bit of a closer look at them, but I do not think I would keep them in my dining hall.
And they're all looking down at us.
Does rather make you feel hunted oneself, doesn't it?
Be a bit awkward if we were having pork tonight.
I think you guys are, actually. I think you are having pork.
Is that what
Braised pork,
is that what Daniel says whenever you guys come in at opposite ends? Actually, we are having...
he leans up and he's like, I think we are. Hello, you two.
Hello?
Are we actually... Wait, how do you know?
We were just in the kitchens.
What are you doing there?
You were in
just-
the kitchen.
well, you know,
What
looking
the hell
around.
do you think we're doing here? We're not here for baths, Zachary. We're here to investigate, right?
No, I'm asking if you found a lead.
I did, actually. This-
Daniel, please roll a d20.
Unnatural 20.
With that unnatural 20, you noticed that Mr. Keene was walking in right behind you as you said, we're investigating.
Ooh!
He heard me?
Mm-hmm.
Oops.
Investigating how delicious tonight's dinner is going to be.
Actually, that's great. Roll another d20 and add your influence.
Okay. How do I only have 2 influence? Well, that's an 18 anyway.
18, okay. Mr. Keene, you saw Mr. Keene look towards you. You don't know who he is. You haven't conversed with him yet, but you saw him turn his head and kind of tilt his ear towards you. But then whenever you said investigate, and then you blustered on a little bit. You blustered pretty well. And so Mr. Keene is going to go on and look for his chair.
We'll say
Somehow.
I blustered well. I think Mr. Keene is a more intelligent chap than to be fooled by what I said, but we'll pretend Daniel said something real stellar.
He's probably oh, he's just an idiot.
And I did cut you off. Do you want to continue sharing your tip with the team in a lowered voice?
Yes, he looks around. He's trying not to look around too much, but he does kind of spider sense to see if people are around. And he says, "Do you remember when I pointed out that the first page of the guest book was ripped out?"
Yes.
We found a grocery list that was a week old for the same things that we're eating tonight. There were 2 grocery lists. Let me say, we're not eating week-old food. I don't mean that. I mean, it seems that this is perhaps not the grand opening that they say it is. Something to think about.
I suppose.
Adrian, roll a d20 plus wisdom.
14. 14
Altogether?
in total, yes.
Mixed success. It definitely strikes you as unusual and suspicious.
Don't know what to do with that information.
Did you all find anything while you were looking around?
Well, 2 things. Maybe 3. We ran into an old acquaintance of Adrian's.
Not worth mentioning, actually.
You know one of these people?
No, not anymore.
Go on, Adrian. Who is it?
Doesn't matter. Not relevant to the investigation.
That we know of. However, number 2 is, it seems that there was a statue moved in one of the rooms that we were in. It's just gone, but it's either out for repair, and that's probably completely irrelevant, and no one cares. And number 3, while we were looking at that, there was a priest here, and he was looking directly at me.
The priest is in his priest dress, right?
Yes. He's in his vestments.
So we clearly know who it is.
Yes.
Yeah, you can look around the
Looking
table and
around the
see.
room.
Also worth mentioning, there was a sort of genealogy book in the library that ends with Nathaniel and someone who's presumably his sister.
That's right.
Well, now that's interesting because Daniel and I were just in the hall and they had a long line of portraits up there, and we had a fairly strong suspicion that those were family portraits. So if you've got a genealogy book in the library to back that up.
Family portraits of Nathaniel, to be exact.
Nathaniel himself has a portrait here?
No, but the men in the portraits looked very much like they could be his relatives.
How strange.
And yet he's scooting about like a footman instead of hosting us this evening.
And
Strange.
he works for somebody in his own home?
Is this his home?
Well, if all of his family pictures are here, who could be his employer? Another family member?
And why has it been converted into a bathhouse?
Something fishy.
Can we find a different word for investigation so that people don't overhear us? Maybe we can say party.
We're just here partying.
I say disco. You say party. disco.
Party.
Yes, all right. For
The
the
code word. And code names.
We've
Well,
already
you've-
got
Well,
yours.
You've got
you and
yours.
I were the only smart ones to have code names.
I suppose we ought to sit down then. Everybody has sort of now migrated in here. The Quinns have come into the room. People are not really paying much attention to the 4 of us as we stand by the fireplace and chit-chat a little bit, but everybody is finding their seats. On the east side of the table, we'll call it, the roll call goes with Sylvester T. Higgins sitting next to Edwin Flynn, sitting next to Colonel Marshall Gurney, sitting next to Adrian Edwards, who's sitting next to Liam Bardsley, sitting next to Eleanor Audley, sitting next to Ida Quinn. At the end of the table, the northmost end, is where Mr. Bentley Keane is seated.
Wow.
And then on the west side, we have Beatrix Chumley, Virginia Colby, Leonard Underwood, Zachary Wilkos, Daniel Pritchard, Dorothea Crispin, and Nevin Quinn. To put it another way, in terms of where we all are in relation to each other and to the people closest to us. Adrian, to your left is the Colonel, across from you is Zach, and then diagonal is Daniel, and then to your right is me, Liam.
Okay.
It's me, Liam.
It's me, Liam. I think I got it once I knew I'm across
So-
from Adrian next to Daniel.
Mm-hmm. You see, you're across from Adrian, you're next to Daniel, and then on your right, you see that the name Leonard Underwood is associated with the priest.
Ah,
Oh no!
how could you? I knew you would. How could you?
No!
You're an evil person. This is fine.
No,
actually.
not the Christians.
But what if it's okay, though? Okay, well,
He just has a crush on you.
Can a guy look at you?
okay. I just want to eat food and investigate.
I think you mean party.
Right.
That's right, we're
Eat
gonna
food and party.
Eat food and
Eat
party.
food and party.
Party squad.
What does Dorothea look like?
She's coming in. She's one of the last people to come in. Zachary and Adrian will recognize her as the woman who is in the library. She's someone of short stature. She's about 4'1". Okay. She has a medium brown complexion, and she's got 3C natural hair that's in a bun with curls framing her face in the popular style of the time. And she's wearing a very beautiful, well-made, feminine dress. She's also got a walking cane that she carries with her as she comes into the dining hall. And you assume either one of the servants or Nathaniel has prepared for her ahead of time because they brought in a small stool from one of the other rooms to bring it next to her chair. So she has no trouble getting up into the chair. She's looking from side to side. She seems quite pleased. She's got some notes in her arms that she's carrying with her. Zach and Adrian might remember she was writing while she was in the library. So she just carried those in with her. She looks to her side, both sides, and gives a nod to Nevin on one side. And Daniel, have you taken your seat?
Sure.
Nice. Well, she gives you a broad smile whenever you're seated next to her.
Daniel smiles back and nods.
All right. So once everybody gets into their seats, Colonel Marshall Gurney looks over Adrian's shoulder at the name card and sees Lord Fartington and makes a kind of a... And you can't quite tell if it was a laugh or, like, something of, like, disgruntled disapproval. Completely ambiguous, whether that was bemusement or disappointment.
Everyone likes a fart joke. I'm going to read that as bemusement.
So everybody's sitting down. It's a little quiet because there's certain groups of people who have arrived together, like Sylvester T. Higgins hasn't really shut up since he came in here, and he's still talking to Edwin Flynn. So there's just a small amount of chatter when Nathaniel comes waltzing in through the same entrance that Liam and Daniel used. He's changed into a slightly nicer jacket than whenever we first saw him at the door. He's wearing gloves. He's got a brooch on. He's kind of pushed his hair back a little bit. Everybody looked at me whenever I said brooch. They're common. They're common.
Okay, so not a possessed brooch.
Well, I didn't say that. I just said everybody wears brooches.
It was just a nice one.
Yeah.
All the nicest ones are possessed.
So he tugs his jacket and moves to the head of the table.
He's the Lord.
Is he?
Who is dining with us.
I think he might. He might
then
just
who's
be
his
announcing
boss?
them. I don't know. We gotta wait and find out.
Sorry.
Was this in character? Is this what
No,
Daniel and Adrian are like? He is the Lord. Who's his boss?
No, Daniel's not talking.
Okay.
Yeah. This is our inner monologue.
Very good. He comes in, he straightens out his jacket, and he says, "Good evening, everyone. My name is Mr. King, and I will be your host tonight. Please allow me to express my most sincere pleasure at your presence here for opening night of the Holloway Manor Hot Spring. I'm well aware that asking everyone, strangers, most of us, to sup together is highly irregular. For this, I offer Lord Bush's humble apologies." "And where is Lord Bush, anyway?" Higgins says. "Shouldn't he be here to give us this speech himself, instead of sending his lackey?"
Don't call him a lackey.
Yeah, I think Adrian coughs a little bit.
Nathaniel looks like he maybe appreciates that a little bit, and he says, "Yes, quite. Well, you see, my employer was called away on urgent family business, an illness, I believe, and so is sadly unable to attend. In fact, he took some of the spring water with him to aid his relative. As a man of science, he swears by its restorative properties, which you will all have the opportunity to enjoy. Well, I don't see why that means we have to eat all together. I'm sure I'm not the only one who'd prefer to dine in the privacy of the rooms I paid good money for."
Oh, okay, I'm just gonna have him. Adrian's gonna lean forward and say then, well, perhaps you, sir, could eat privately on your own.
Ooh.
I think Daniel had, when Sylvester had said that, had kind of like turned to Dorothea and sort of like rolled his eyes, sort of like sharing a look with her. Hopefully he wants to connect with her. She seems cool. And then when he heard Adrian's voice, his neck snapped towards Adrian and his eyes are wide.
I don't imagine any of us would take offense if you chose to retire.
I say, the gall of so... And who are you, sir?
It says here on my nameplate.
I can't read from there. Come on, speak up.
Oh.
Now you gotta find. Now you gotta find a fancy foreign way to pronounce Fordington.
I'm a guest here.
Nathaniel jumps in at this point. And he says, no, it's quite understandable your concern, sir. But I'm afraid that, admittedly, half our staff was unable to come in today because of the weather, you see. So the surest way to make sure everyone eats at a reasonable time is to come together all in one place. The person with the nameplate, Chumley, who is one from the parlor that was the cool lady that Zachary and Adrian saw.
The bi one.
Yeah, pops up. And she is leaning sort of casually on one elbow, and she says, I certainly don't mind. I consider it a hobby to meet interesting new people. I'm glad you feel that way, Miss Chumley. In fact, I was rather hoping that after dinner is served, we could all introduce ourselves, this is Nathaniel speaking, so that we needn't worry about eating as strangers any longer. As a last few words, before food is served, allow me to lay out Lord Bush's guidelines for exploring the house. This is meant to be a place of rest and recuperation, so please explore the amenities of any room that is not locked here on the ground floor. On the first floor, you may access the grand ballroom and the gardens, minus the weather, I suppose. But the rest are bedrooms. Naturally, you'll want to stick to your own room. Likewise, the second floor is mostly bedrooms, but the gallery gives a lovely view of the grand ballroom. And as for the third floor, it's only... And before Nathaniel can continue, he's interrupted by one of the waitstaff walking in through the entrance that Zachary and Adrian used, with another person in tow. And the waitstaff says, I do beg your pardon, but it seems that we have a last-minute guest who would like to attend this evening. The person that she has brought with her is a young woman, only about 5 foot tall, with strawberry blonde, wavy hair. She's got very pale skin and rosy cheeks, and she's wearing a very long coat. The waitstaff tries to take off her coat, but she waves a hand and she clutches it closer to herself. She looks around the room a little bit awkwardly. She looks a little bedraggled, but it's hard to blame her considering the thunderstorm. She does a small curtsy to introduce herself, and she says, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I just happened to see one of the flyers for this place, and she's twiddling her hands nervously in front of her, and she says, I ended up needing a place to stay for the night, sort of a last-minute thing, and I was hoping that I could stay here. Again, terribly sorry to have interrupted dinner. Nathaniel speaks up. You are most welcome to the table, miss, but I'm afraid we've no more rooms left tonight. And there is a slight beat, and he glances very briefly to his right, and he flinches, and then he hurriedly adds, unless someone were willing to share rooms, which I hardly dare ask. And he looks around.
That bitch is haunted. Can we see anything with our Fergus feathers? Is there like a ghost tapping on his shoulder or something?
There's no ghost. Wait, on who is
on
is the lady
on
haunted?
Nathaniel,
Nathaniel.
Oh, on Nathaniel.
Yeah, I called Nathaniel.
That bitch. Okay, that bitch Nathaniel. No.
Bitch is gender neutral.
Okay, you can't see anything with your Fergus feathers, no.
Okay, that reaction was very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so he suggested unless someone wants to share a room.
Mm-hmm. And we're kind of in bullet time right now.
Yeah, I mean, Adrian glances at the rest of the lads. He's not going to immediately be like, I'll share with Liam, but if neither of you speak up soon enough, I guess he might say...
Oh, okay.
Roll me a d20.
Add anything?
Just a straight d20.
Just a 10.
A 10. So, before Adrian can mention anything, it's actually the priest that speaks up and says, you know, actually, I wouldn't mind sharing a room with another gentleman. I'm always happy to help someone in need. You know, one of our principles and all that. How about you? Nobody could object to that. And he gestures towards the colonel. The colonel gives a curt nod, very restrained, and he says, I see no objections to that.
Zachary's ears were ringing, like, when the priest had spoke up. Zachary's actually been incredibly quiet this entire time, ever since he learned, like, he has to sit next to the priest. He was pretty okay with it until he kind of sat down and that person was sitting next to him, and suddenly he was just, like, flooded with remembering what had happened in the church not too long ago. So he's just kind of been sitting there with, like, a sick stomach, like, his ears kind of ringing, and, like, now another person comes in and he had jumped a little, and just everything that has been happening around him, he's just been very quiet and a little wide-eyed.
That almost sounds like a fright. Are you going to give your boy a fright?
Yeah,
This is optional.
I did, yeah.
Okay, you gave him a fright?
Yeah.
All right.
I decided to give him a fright. I was like, this is some PTSD coming back.
Understandable. Nathaniel, after Underwood makes that offer, Nathaniel gives something halfway between a smile and a wince, and he gestures towards the end of the east side of the table where Ida is, and asks the wait person, "Oh, yes, please pull up a chair for her there. Mr. Keene, would you mind terribly if you moved to sit across from her?" And so Mr. Keene is now sitting on the west side of the table next to Nevin. Mr. Keene is now across from this lady. So once they get all settled, the staff tries again to take her coat, and she waves them off again, and so the staff goes ahead and leaves her be. "Yes, very kind of you, Mr. Keene. Let me see. I was just saying that the 3rd floor is where our in-home staff resides, and you needn't go all the way up there to find them. We have bell pulls in every bedroom should you need assistance. Now, to the last order of business, the reason you're all here. Everyone shall have an opportunity for personal time in the spring tomorrow, starting at 9 a.m. I have a sign-up sheet here on the credenza for after dinner. For those who just can't wait, the hot spring will be open for 2 hours this evening. 9 p.m. to 10 is the women's hour, and 10 to 11 is the men's hour."
Zachary shoots a look over at Adrian and Liam, like, this is probably a good idea. And then he also nods, and he gives a quick glance over to Daniel as well. And then he looks back at Nathaniel.
Daniel in his head says, "Party time."
Party time? Liam also gives, he kind of closes his eyelids a little bit. Like, it's not even a nod. He's just like, yeah, acknowledgement to Zach. Nathaniel continues, "I would love to leave it open all night, but I'm afraid Lord Bush insists everyone be in their rooms by 11:30. It's just a matter of safety, since the halls are dark and the stairs are steep." And then you hear the gentleman with the blonde hair and the chin beard pipe up.
Is that Flynn?
It's Flynn. He pipes up and he says, "I feel rather like I'm back at Eton, curfew and all." And then Nathaniel finishes off with, "Lord Bush appreciates your understanding and hopes everyone will enjoy themselves to the fullest. Now, let's eat." Nathaniel claps his hands, and the staff brings in the first course.
He claps his hands, but it sounds like pum pum because it's in gloves.
Okay. Yeah, no, it is in gloves. It is in gloves. Actually, I'm going to use this opportunity. Since you mentioned Nathaniel's gloves, I'm going to use a witness token. This is Daniel's last witness.
Okay.
So what you witness is that Nathaniel claps his hands in a way where he is holding his right hand closer to his body, and he doesn't move it very much. And he claps like that, where he's mostly just moving his left hand whenever he does it, and he claps fairly gently.
Huh.
That was your last witness token.
Interesting.
For the 7 to 8 hour.
Well, okay. Well, he might just be left-handed, but it's something to look out for. Daniel notices it and packs it into his brain.
So what the folks bring in is, first course is cream of watercress soup with hot bread rolls. The soup has greens, butter, onion, cream, chicken stock. It's a nice, kind of a hearty, creamy soup.
That sounds really good.
Whet your appetite. And so everybody's getting their plates all ready. Those that are closer to the head of the table are holding their cutlery with great expertise. Very highfalutin folks. That's including Edwin Flynn, Beatrix Chumley, Virginia, Sylvester T. Higgins. You know, Liam and Adrian also know the ins and outs of proper cutlery and that sort of thing. As they start in, I would like everybody to roll 1d6. Daniel and Liam roll with advantage. If you recall, I had us roll with advantage back in Arc 1 when we were doing social things at the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to roll your d6 with advantage and take the higher number.
Why?
Because we're socializing.
Because we're social. Daniel goes out to do, like, fraternizing with, like, publishing parties and all of this sort of stuff.
Ooh, a 5.
Nice.
Oh,
okay.
I got a 3.
A 3,
I got
okay.
a 3 too.
A 3,
Nice.
okay. That actually works
Couple
out
of
really
3
well.
boys.
Very good.
You held
Pardon
up
me.
2 fingers, but you know what? I'll give it to you.
That was a peace sign.
So Liam got a 6, Daniel got a 5, and Adrian and Zach got 3s. Before the guests start to go around the table and start to, say their one special detail about themselves kind of icebreaker challenge,
Oh my lord.
I'm going to let you all in on a little bit of a mechanic that has up to this point been a soft mechanic so as not to be overwhelming. So the people that you are here in the manor with are the people that you're going to be interacting with for the rest of the arc. And so whenever we say things like, Mr. Keen will remember this, I'm actually putting a number on that.
Okay.
So everyone is going to start off, for the most part, there's a few exceptions, but most people will start off feeling fairly neutral towards our lads. But as we have positive or negative interactions with them, their opinions towards us are going to change. It works by 3s in either direction. So, in the positive side, people may become interested in us, amicable towards us, or they might become allies with us. And we get different bonuses with each of those. Now, if we turn people off, they will either become guarded, averse, or enemies to us.
Oh, shit.
And so what that means in terms of gameplay is that if we are interested in somebody and somebody's interested in us, we are going to get +1 on perception/insight rolls about that type of person. So basically, if you're like, oh, I want to see how Dorothea feels about X, Y, and Z, and you want to just kind of gauge her facial features, you'll have a better advantage of that if you are already in good standing with her.
Because she's going to be more honest with me.
Exactly.
Okay.
For amicable, you get +2 on perception and insight type rolls with this particular person. And now whenever you get all the way up to allies, you get a super cool special bonus, which is you get +3 on influence type rolls. So anything where you're trying to charm somebody to, like, help you, assist you, basically anything where you might need somebody to help, solve something for you, you get +3 on your influence. So it goes 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And then conversely, it's basically the opposite for guarded, averse, and enemy. If they're guarded, it's going to be much more difficult to see what their expressions mean. If they're averse to you, it's -2. And then if they're an enemy, it's going to be really hard to convince them to do anything that you want. And they might even be convinced by other players or other actors in the scene to work against you. And now there's the last final point with this is that friendship is a two-way street, y'all. And so if we have a character who is allies with us, and we get that tasty little +3 on influence type rolls, they will also get a +3 if they are trying to influence us.
Oh, okay.
So the street works both ways, and so then there's also kind of an idea of, like, if you make friends with the wrong sort of person and get really bonded up with them, then they will be able to influence you more easily, just as you might be able to influence them more easily.
Shit. We gotta be careful. Just like real life.
And it can move around. Like, somebody who's guarded against you right now could easily become neutral or interested in you again in the future, depending on how you interact with them. So this is largely going to be based on your interactions with each other. And just to give you, like, a little taste, a little schmackerel of what you've done so far, I'm going to say Nathaniel is already interested in each of the lads and amicable with Daniel because Daniel helped him keep the servant from falling over and also helped him pick up all of the cards. Mr. Keen is guarded towards Zach and Adrian with Zach because Zach, he was interested at first because he saw what you were doing with the genealogy book and came over to talk with you and was probably on the way to interested and then could tell that you were withholding truth and now is a little bit more guarded. So he doesn't dislike, but he's definitely guarded. There's a few other characters that have some stake in us already, like the Quins and Liam.
Yeah, the Quins.
So the roll that I just made you do represents the number of people that we can add with a positive interest to each lad. So to put that another way, Zach, you rolled a 3. So since we're not going to have literally every dinner conversation that's going to be had at the table, what that means is that you'll get to pick 3 people that you want to bump them up to interested. And we'll just say that you had a positive interaction with them at some point during dinner. So you get to pick and choose who you want to kind of bump up. Adrian gets to also choose 3 people like, oh yeah, I want to have this sort of relationship. And then Daniel gets 5 people.
5.
Yeah. And you can choose for that to be people that we talk to in the canon, or somebody you can just say, oh yeah, and then I talked to so-and-so and we had a great time.
I'm going to bump up Nathaniel. Is he eating with us?
Yes, he's sitting at the head of the table. He is your host in lieu of
Mr. Bush.
Lord Bush.
Lord Bush.
Yes.
Lord Bush.
I have a theory of what's going on, but I'm not going to say it.
Okay.
At least not around so many people. You can't party right here at the table.
I'm not going to party at the table.
Now we can go around, we can have this, we'll do a little bit of role play around the table so that everybody can get to know everybody else who's here. Y'all can let me know if you want to talk to anybody in particular, or if you just want to be like, yeah, I'm just gonna have a little bit of off-screen interaction and bump up my interest with XYZ character. So starting on the west side of the table, moving from, starting at the south and going clockwise, we're going to start with the woman in glasses who's wearing a waistcoat with her skirts. With a leisurely sip of her soup, she introduces herself as Chumley. I'm a lady of leisure. I am quite well known as a portrait painter, as a matter of fact. I enjoy traveling. I like playing cards with pretty ladies and gents. I'm just looking for new experiences and new places. It's lovely to meet you all.
Is everybody supposed to respond? Or
Yeah,
No.
do we say, lovely to meet you too?
No.
Everyone's murmuring.
That's great.
It's great. Good job. Good for you. So then next is, I'm Miss Colby. I'm an actress down at Covent Garden. Oh, what can I say? I'm just here for a bit of relaxation. Acting keeps me quite busy, but I'm happy to be here. And she looks across the table at Mr. Flynn, and he gives her a bit of a wink, and she passes the torch on to the priest next. Good evening, everyone. My name is Father Underwood, and I preach at St. Mary Le Bow. Excuse me. I preach at St. Mary Le Bow. Oh, and I have to say, I'm delighted to know that I'm seated next to an actress. I'm a big fan of Shakespeare's plays. I certainly would love to see you one day. And Virginia she waves her hand, she'll be like, oh, I'll be sure to get you some tickets at some point. Next we have Zachary.
Good evening, I'm Zachary Wilkos. I'm a banker. Or rather, I'm an accountant at a bank. Not much to say. Just looking forward to soaking in the hot springs. A lot of bending over in my job.
Everyone nods, and then it's Daniel's turn.
I am Giuseppe Verdi. I enjoy traveling. My family is originally from Italy. I love trying new things, experiencing new countries.
He's trying so hard not to hold his head in his hands, and he's just trying to act so normal. And
Yeah,
he's just
Adrian's
like,
squinting at him.
And I am a travel journalist. Travel writing was a very popular genre, at least in the 18th century. Daniel's kind of antiquated. He has very 18th century tastes, actually, in his writing, too. Yeah, so he says that he is a travel writer.
Let me make a note of this.
And he said his family's from Italy, and that he enjoys traveling. He didn't say he was from Italy, to explain his accent.
Do the Quins respond to this at all?
Oh, yeah, he told the Quins his name was Daniel Pritchard.
Yeah. And I think
God damn it!
Yeah, Liam introduced him as a writer and listed some of his well-known pieces. So what do the Quins do?
The Quins are looking at each other, and they're not about to pipe up. They're no snitches. But Miss Chumley pipes up. Oh, how lovely. What part of Italy is your family from? I
Milan.
travel there frequently.
Florence.
Florence.
oh god.
Wait, is it Florence or Milan?
Oh, father's from Milan, mother's from Florence.
Oh, they have the most wonderful leather in Florence. Why, I got the most excellent overcoat there, and I just had to send back and have them make me 3 more of different colours, because it's just, you can't find leather like that anywhere else. Don't you find that so?
Florence is quite well known for its fashion.
How wonderful. She, sits back in her chair.
Fiorenza.
I'm actually going to have you roll a d20.
He doesn't say Fiorenza. He's not.
Oh, sorry, no, just for that interaction in general.
Okay. Nat 20.
Nice.
My boy's Italian.
Yeah. Mamma mia, that boy's Italian. All right.
I need to make a new section called Giuseppe Verdi Lies.
Yeah.
The next one up is the lady to your left, Daniel. So she speaks up and she says, I'm Miss Dorothea Crispin, and I'm a novel writer. I came here not as much for the baths as for the library that I saw mentioned, and I'm researching for my second novel, but it's lovely to meet you all, of course. Next is Mr. Quinn. He's a little nervous, you might suspect. And he is a little bit he's got a little more bravado to compensate for it. And he says, my name is Mr. Nevin Quinn. I'm a carpenter by trade, a violinist by vocation. It's exactly the same thing as you heard before. You get the idea that he probably introduces himself like this a lot. Mm-hmm. And he says, the missus and I, we won a lottery to come here and enjoy this fancy place. And, we're just here to see the sights, enjoy ourselves. And it's lovely to meet all of you, I'm sure. Next to Nevin is Mr. Keene. He introduces himself. He says, I'm Mr. Bentley Keene. I work at a paper. I'm a printer. And it's my pleasure to be here and to enjoy the lovely architecture. And he looks at Zachary whenever he says that. And he smiles.
Zachary smiles and nods back.
And then next is the woman who entered later in the evening before you all started dinner. I'm going to say by this point, the first course is done. They come out with the second dish, which is a roast goose with stuffing. It's very fragrant. There's sage, onion, celery, and also some diced apples in that stuffing. And a few slices of this roast goose have been laid out on the bed of greens. And so everyone is laying this out. For this one, the serving person that's coming around the table ends up walking clockwise. Zachary, as this woman walks behind you, you feel a sensation, and it travels up your arm and across the back of your neck, and then down the other arm, as if someone had very, very gently taken a piece of ribbon or spider web or just a thin strand of hair and drawn it across the hairs on your arm, and then along the back of your neck and down the other one.
That does cause him to give a shiver. And he does turn to see if something had, touched him or anything. Doesn't make too much of a fuss about it. He finds he's steadily losing his appetite more and more. This whole situation is very uncomfortable.
You don't see anything unusual about the woman that had just walked behind you. She just looks like every other one of the servants. She's got on her simple white dress. There's nothing remarkable about her whatsoever. She's not making eye contact with you or anything. She's just concentrating on the plates that she's carrying.
He leans over to Daniel and he asks, did you feel that just now?
He looks confused. Feel what?
He shakes his head and goes back to eating.
Okay, that was one of your witness points.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So now they're handing out this goose and stuffing, and the young lady introduces herself. She looks around the room, and she says, good evening, everyone. My name is Rosamund Osmond. Rosamund Osmond. And she smiles, and then looks back down at her plate, and then she looks up again, and she says, I am here for the hot spring and to relax a little bit. And then she sort of trails off a little bit. Let's see. I'm going to give Adrian roll a d20.
Straight?
Mm-hmm. No, add your wisdom, actually.
Okay. Only 11.
An 11. Okay. However, Zach, I'm going to be using up your last witness token here.
It's an eventful night.
Yeah. Because whenever she says her name, you notice that Sylvester, Eleanor, Edwin, and Liam all look at Rosamund with wide eyes and then look back at their plates and don't say a damn thing.
What the fuck? Hang on.
Well, I'm glad we know one of the people who is affected. We can ask Liam later.
Yeah.
Next is Ida. And Ida pipes up. She says, I'm Mrs. Ada Quinn. I'm here with my husband, Nevin, over there, of course. And it's a pleasure to meet all of you. She doesn't say what her occupation is. Next is Eleanor Audley. She's the one, just as a refresher, who has sort of silvery hair. She's a little older. She's fairly short, around 4'11", which isn't too unusual for this era. And she's got a very tight bun with curls around her face, and she's got the mint dress and the fur stole and the pipe. She says, I'm Mrs. Eleanor Audley, widowed, of course. Much like everyone else, I just wanted to come out to the countryside to get a bit of the fresh air. Liam nods to everyone and says, I'm Mr. Liam Bardsley of the Bardsley Bank. I'm here to enjoy an evening out with my friends and compatriots. My pleasure.
This started as like telling people actually a little bit about them, and then now everyone is like revealing nothing.
Yeah.
They're revealing nothing. They're just like, oh, I wanted to come to the bathhouse. Yeah, no shit. That's why you're here. That's why you're in the building.
Some people
tonight.
are a little more chatty than others.
It's frustrating.
Adrian knows he can't say he's Lord Fartington, mainly because A, it's embarrassing to actually say, and B, he's worried about what Miss Virginia Colby will do. So he says, good evening, I'm Mr. Edwards. I am accompanying friends to enjoy the bath.
Colonel Marshall Gurney straightens up in his chair. At your service, ladies and gentlemen. And then goes right back to his goose.
All right.
So he says nothing.
He says nothing.
He reveals nothing.
He reveals nothing. Very tight-lipped. Then next is the gentleman with blonde hair. He stands up.
Stands up. Has everybody been
Mr.
standing
Flynn.
up?
No.
Oh, okay.
He stands up and he does a little bow to the table. I'm Edwin Flynn. I'm quite a skilled hunter, and I'm here to stretch my legs a little bit. I'm an acquaintance of Lord Bush. He invited me personally, of course. I'm really just here to meet some charming people and, you know, share stories with like-minded people.
He sounds insufferable.
Yeah. Adrian turns to make a face at Liam.
I'm just here. I'm going to stand up because I'm that important.
Mm-hmm.
Liam returns Adrian's eyeballs. And actually, Miss Crispin is now the one to make eyes at Daniel to roll her eyes again. to see if he also is feeling a similar way.
Oh yeah, he returns. He affirms that he agrees with her.
Eye rolls all around.
Kind of smiles and laughs a little.
And then last on this side is Sylvester T. Higgins. He, seeing Edwin Flynn stand up, he decides that he should also stand up.
Yes.
And he does a bow to the ladies on either side of him, and he's ignoring Nathaniel completely, and he says, my name, as many of you would know, is Sylvester T. Higgins. I'm here as a matter of socializing and business. I think that it's best to combine the two. They go hand in hand, if you ask me. So I'm happy to have a word with a few of you, if any of you have any interest in what I mean by business. That came off sounding a little bit more like an innuendo than anything.
Did. I'm afraid there was a siren
okay.
happening during that whole time.
That's all right. That's fine. That can be for the bloopers.
Okay. I liked that, though. I liked it. I just didn't notice the fucking siren.
I think he should fucking blush and then sit down.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Like,
We'll lean into it. Yes, and.
It's like, fuck what I'd say.
Should we just leave it?
Okay, so that is everybody around the table. Nathaniel does not look like he's going to introduce himself again, because he already introduced himself to you all as Mr. King. Officially, properly, you know everybody's names. Your characters now also know everybody's names. Eleanor turns to Liam on one side of her and then looks to Ida on the other. She says, you don't mind if I smoke while I'm here, do you? She pulls out her pipe again, and she's already, like, pulling out her match and already getting ready to light it. Ida's like, oh, no bother for me. Go ahead. Enjoy yourself. It's a fine meal. Nice to have a smoke with it as well. Liam gives a nod as well, and so she lights up her pipe. And as she does so, I'm going to use one of Liam's witness. Liam has been tucking into his goose, but whenever he happens to glance back over at Eleanor again, who is slowly puffing away on her pipe, he does a double take. What he sees in the smoke is a small, amorphous face that roils and shifts with the smoke. It looks unhappy.
Liked what you heard? Let us know by using hashtag #DandiesInDanger over on our Twitter, Insta, Tumblr, and TikTok in the listed links below. We'd love to hear any and all comments, questions, and theories as to where the story might be headed. Want to support us and our lads' adventures more directly? Then please consider clicking on the link and becoming a patron today. For just $1, you can gain access to our longer, uncensored outtakes and blooper reels. For $5, you can have access to exclusive stickers, in-world letters written by and for the lads, poetry by Adrian and Daniel, and original music from the show composed and scored by Chess Albanese. Can't afford to support directly? No problem. Podcasts survive by word of mouth, so if you like what you heard, tell your friends, family, and local graveyard ghosts all about these exciting tales. Thank you, and we'll see you next time. Dandies in Danger is written and voiced by Elijah Bergateris as Zachary Wilkos. Cast as Liam Bardsley, Chess Albanese as Daniel Pritchard, and Toast as Adrian Edwards. It is edited by Toast. Original score and music composed by Chess Albanese. It is produced by Dandies team, and made possible by listeners like you.